I do wish the last 3 weeks hadn't soured me so much on the season because I will say about Cam, when he is HOH, he is usually at least entertaining, and I can see why production has gone so far out of their way to keep him in the game because he is one of like only two or three people left that is actually decent TV. So him being HOH, I think I have called his plan all along, or at least what he has wanted to do over the past week and a half. I've been saying that in his conversations with people, he wants to take a shot at Corey for whatever reason, that people speculate because he wants to be closer to America. Even Felicia telling that to his face, basically, that if he takes out Corey, then he gets America, basically, as an ally or more, whatever Felicia really insinuated with that statement. But I think even before Felicia said that, most of his conversations last week, especially with Jared, pointed to him wanting to take Corey out of this game. Now, before we get to last night's conversation, let's talk a little bit about before Veto. After my last video, Blue continued to be messy. I said in my last video on Friday night that Blue was getting a little sloppy, that she has good ideas, execution-wise, they have been sloppy. She told Cameron way too much, which I already established, but she also got caught talking about how she wouldn't use the veto on Felicia if she won the veto, even though she told Felicia she would. Felicia overheard that, confronted Blue about it. Blue said she was lying. And Felicia kind of tested the waters there, picking Blue as house guest choice in the veto competition. Now, of course, Blue didn't win. Mimi apparently came very close to winning, but it was Cam who also won the veto, as Cam just continues to be the comp beast this season. I think that this puts Cam in a tough spot, but Cam is always going to be in a tough spot. And another reason why I give the twist a lot of shit is because I know the Cam fans and the casuals that love Cam don't want to admit that the reason Cam was out in the first place was Cam's own doing. Cam has a terrible social game, and this isn't going to stop because he's back in the game and because he's HOH again. I still don't think he has these established relationships with people like others do in this game. He never really had that with anyone outside of Red, and now that he's winning more and more competition, it just grows his target more and more. But I think he knows that. I think he knows he's going to have to win out to win this game. Another thing happening with the veto is that Cerie's name has never been pulled from the tokens. I don't think her name is in there. I think part of Cerie's contract was, A, I want to only play this game if I could play with one of my children, and B, I never want to play in a veto unless I'm on the block. I don't think Cerie wants to play in any competitions that she doesn't have to. I think she will let her social game work for her, and I genuinely think she's not in that bag. Or I think it was in her contract to not be picked for veto until maybe late in the game. I don't know. But it's very suspicious that she has never been picked for a veto. But she doesn't really need it because her social game does get her further in this game. Now, yes, I think part of the reason I've been kind of taken out of being invested in this season is because there was 2 out of 3 weeks where nobody went home. And that's just bad producing, in my opinion. Like right in the smack middle of the season, and it's a long season, production decides that there's going to be 2 out of 3 weeks where nobody goes home. And that leads to very boring feeds, and it also hurts the game, like I talked about in my last video. So production getting that wrong. But another reason that I'm having a hard time reestablishing myself to be invested in these people is that almost all of them play the exact same game. They play the game where I've talked about all season, and I've never talked about it in this way, but they play the game where they all go around and give people information. They talk too much, go around giving the wrong people information. We see Corey already talking to Cerie again way too much. Blue getting sloppy telling Cameron way too much. And to me, it just comes across as almost an entire cast playing the exact same way. And I don't think that makes for an interesting game to view. I mean, social games like this are more interesting when there are different styles of games going on. But in this season, there is not that. And I've already talked about how it makes for a game where there's no finesse, but it also just makes for a game that becomes very still, which is what we're seeing now because everybody gives everyone all the information. The people that they shouldn't even give information to. And I don't understand why they've done this all season, but it isn't going to change. And the only two people that don't do this are Mimi and Bowie, but those two are not interesting to watch either because Mimi has a complete lack of aggression in her gameplay. Although more than Bowie, who I will continue to say is just there. I don't care. I'm never going to give Bowie any credit this season. Bowie does not play the game. Bowie does not play the game, period. And yeah, she hasn't been put on the block yet, but neither has Suri. And look at the two game comparisons. Suri, who controlled the game for the first third of the season and who has gone through turmoil when the whole house turned on her, and yet she reestablishes her social game to still not be a target. And then that compares to Bowie James' game, who's just there and has done nothing and only wanted to make jury this entire time anyway. I don't like Bowie. I hate that she's still in this game. And that the combination of Bowie and Mimi being the only two people not playing this bad game of telling everyone everything, it just doesn't add to the game either. So those are the two big reasons why I think this season is kind of struggling right now in the middle of the game. And it's not just the feeds. Even the episodes have been getting low ratings, getting closer and closer to 2.5 million rather than 3 million because the last 2 weeks have not been very good. But let's get to Cam now and his real plan, as I've said all along, is that he wants to backdoor Corey. And he has gave little clues to Matt and Jag all week long so far since his HOH. But it's specifically Matt. He told Matt his plan last night. And Matt will go along with it. Now, Wussy Pussy Jag, as we've established, has handcuffed himself to a showmance. This dummy, the biggest dummy in the house, the biggest dummy all season, Jag, really thinks he's going to go to Final 3 with a showmance and they're going to choose him over each other. I just don't understand Jag's point of view here unless Jag thinks he's going to win the Final 3 HOH and cut one of them. But can he even beat Corey in a Final 2? Maybe he thinks he could beat America. I don't know. I don't want to try and think like Jag because Jag doesn't think and it would just hurt my head. So I think Jag has established himself as a huge idiot. Now, even more so in the conversation with Cam and Matt last night where Cam is trying to get them both on board. Now, Cam told Matt that he would only do this if he would get them both on board, if they were both on board. But I think Cam was also trying to test their allegiance to Cam here. Cam is a smarter player than Jag. And honestly, on a strategic level, I think than Matt as well. You see, Cam, as I've said all along, terrible socially. And that's the reason he was voted out of this game unanimously in the first place. But I talked to Alex once about how I really do feel like Cam might be the most well-rounded player left in the game because he obviously beasts competitions. He wins most of the competitions now. But I also think his strategy has worked to get people out of the game. It doesn't necessarily get him further in the game, but it does get the people he wants out of the game. And I don't really think anybody else has two out of those three things. You know, a lot of people in this game have a decent social game, but they're either terrible at competitions, which at this point seems to be all the women, but that's just a Big Brother problem in general in the US these days, where the women don't seem to be able to win the Big Brother competitions much. And it's a big part of the game, so it's not really fair of Big Brother the way they do these competitions, or I guess the way they cast the women. But also the strategies of everyone else not exactly working. And another thing I called is that Corey's ego was going to come out and come to the forefront once Jared was gone, and We see that now. Corey feels so safe in this game that he is continuing to make mistakes here before the veto meeting is even happening. Corey's telling Blue way too much information. Blue's already gone around earlier this week throwing Corey under the bus, and last night he's telling Blue more information than she could go around again to Cam, who's the HOH, and throw Corey under the bus again. Sari has information on Matt and Jag and Corey about how they're going to come for Cam sooner rather than later. Sari can go to Cam with that information. Cam could get the information to easily pull the trigger to put Corey up, but Corey feels safe. And after his talk with Matt and Jag last night, Cam said to the camera he could do whatever the fuck he wants this week, and he can. He is both the HOH and the veto holder, and I don't think he really necessarily needs Matt and Jag on board to do this. I think this is what he wants to do all along, and Cam's another one with a big ego, so he might pull the trigger on this. Now, Corey says that if he or America are put on the block, he's going to do the same thing he did with Jared, and that's cause this big scene and throw Cam under the bus, throw Matt and Jag under the bus. You see, the problem with Corey here is that the only people he could really do that to is Matt and Jag, and he would need their votes if he were to be put on the block this week. Because if Corey goes on the block, and for now it seems like Cam would want to pull down Felicia to put up Corey. Now, Felicia's been being very dramatic with Cam, so that would catch Felicia off guard. I don't know if Cam can establish something with Felicia. I would like to see that, two kind of rivals at least having a momentary understanding maybe for a week or two would actually be good gameplay from Cam if he's able to pull that off. But knowing Cameron, he probably won't even talk to Felicia beforehand and just want to shock her at the veto ceremony. But if Corey goes on the block, he's going to have America's vote to stay. He's going to have Jag's vote to stay. That's kind of it. It's going to be Matt and Bowie who he would need to get as a vote. And with Bowie, it's not like you can guarantee you're going to have her vote because she's not playing the game. She's just going to go to where she thinks the majority of votes are going. So he would need Matt. So he can't throw Matt and Jag under the bus if he gets put on the block. Corey's plan isn't going to work. And Corey said to America last night that he feels like he has to chase people around these days to get info, where before people used to bring info to him. Well, that's because he made that huge mistake of getting Izzy out of the game that week. And I know some people tried to argue that it was the smart move, but that's because too many dummies listen to updaters like Rob has a podcast. They listen to updaters who are awkward socially themselves, and then they think that those people are going to give you good reads on the social game. It's funny to me. But Corey getting out Izzy was a huge mistake because Corey was getting that info from Izzy and Jared. And you can blame Jared a little bit because he was giving Corey a lot of crap and kind of ruining their relationship. But Corey still had Izzy. And the whole reason Corey went after Izzy in the first place was because of America. It was at that moment that Corey started playing his game for America, which was not only a huge mistake for him on a strategic level, but also on a social level because it severed ties for him to get information later in the game. And now he's not getting that information because he was always getting information from Jared and Izzy. And now I think that is why he is kind of oblivious to the fact that he's in more trouble than he actually is, even though he doesn't trust Cam. But another reason he's going wrong is he thinks because he has America and Cam have this flirty relationship, he thinks that he can use America to get Cam off of his back. But that's not working because America's only good at flirting to help her game. So yes, at that moment when Corey went after Izzy, his only real number 2 in the game, who I think he could have used late in this game for his game, it was a huge mistake. It was a big blunder, and now that's why his game is harder for him, as I've said all along. But that's kind of where we stand here. I think Cam really wants to put Corey on the block. We'll see if Jay can convince him not to, but I think Cam came out of his conversation with Matt and Jake last night, seeing that Jake was going to bat hard for Corey, and that's not going to sit well with Cam. So we'll see what Cam actually does today on this Sunday and what he tries to do to maneuver himself in this game, because either way, he's going to be a big target going forward. I think taking out Corey is best for his game because it once again shakes up the house, but it doesn't shake it up enough to not have this big target on his back. It depends how he plays this. I think he's going to have a hard time taking the giant target off his back. I think Cam's just going to have to do a lot of winning. But for now, I do like the fact that he wants to put Corey up. Corey might not go home, though. He could have the votes to stay, and then Mimi's just collateral damage if he takes Felicia off the block to put up Corey. Either way, I do like that it can shake things up a little. Cam is at least good for that. And Cam's the kind of player I actually do like. We talk a lot about Big Brother not having these kind of players who just want to do whatever he wants to do and play for himself. Everybody on this game always wants to play in these big alliances. It'd be nice if Cam had a better social game while he was doing this, but Cam, I like the fact that he plays for himself and that he wants to do whatever the fuck he wants to do, because it's good TV, but it's also a kind of gameplay that Big Brother has not had for a very long time. So I understand why Cam is popular with the people on Facebook and the casuals, because I like that kind of gameplay too, and the rest of this house, not a big fan of them. So I would like to see Corey go, but if he doesn't go, it also adds a layer to the game that can hopefully make it a little more interesting going forward. My ideal final three is actually Matt, Suri, and Blue, because I do think they are the best three social players left. And yes, I do put Blue in that category now. Despite her being sloppy about it, her social game has gone up so high in my book from where it started with her not even playing. I want to continue to give her credit, even if she is sloppy about it.